everybody. Vasu Vaddiparty here. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Can you believe we've already gone through 5 months? Hope everybody had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. I did. Watched a lot of baseball. Got caught up on a lot of things. Giants-Dodgers series. Lots of other series going on. The Cubs are playing well. The Cardinals are playing well. It's going to be an interesting week in baseball. The NBA playoffs have moved on to the second round for one team. The Milwaukee Bucks swept the Miami Heat last week. They will await the winner of the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics. Let me give you a hint here. It's the Brooklyn Nets already, the way Boston's playing. 3-1 up in that series. Let's see. 3-2 series in Portland, Denver. The Clippers and Dallas. All four road teams have won there. And Anthony Davis went out in the second half on Sunday, did not return. Phoenix was able to get a victory. That series even at 2-2. And then the Atlanta Hawks have a 3-1 series lead over the New York Knicks after two home blowout wins Friday and Sunday. They'll try to close it out in New York today. Casey Freelove will be on with us in a few minutes. Charlie O on assignment. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. Thank you for joining us for the Make the Money and Run podcast. Hope everybody's weekend was good. You can catch us every Monday and Thursday and Friday. Usually Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. The holiday took us away yesterday, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific, right here on Facebook Live and also on our YouTube channel. If you miss any of the live programming, including our picks at the end, please download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, any of the podcasting outlets that you have. Look for the logo up there in the top right corner. Find our logo, click onto it, subscribe, download, rate, review, give us the 5 stars, and you can also reach us socially on Facebook and Instagram as well too. All three of us have individual pages as well as the Make the Money and Run Facebook page. You can also get to us on email at mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at mtmarpodcast. All right, all the nuts and bolts out right there. Let's get to the week that was. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants played over the weekend. Dodgers swept the Giants over the previous weekend in San Francisco, 3-0. Almost had a chance, probably a big catch by Mike Tauchman on Friday, saved the Giants behinds on Friday night. They end up winning extra innings, and then they take apart Julio Urias and Clayton Kershaw back-to-back games over the weekend in Los Angeles. Can't say that about too many teams that have done that before, but the Giants have a 3 out of 4 series win in Los Angeles, and then yesterday they came back to an Angels team at home on Memorial Day in front of a pretty good crowd, good energy around San Francisco. I was there yesterday, really good energy. Nice warm weather. It's glad to see we're getting warm weather. If you're still experiencing bad weather on the East Coast or in the Midwest, sorry. Just wanted to tell you that it was very nice in San Francisco at Oracle Park. But no Shohei Ohtani in the lineup except for a pinch hitting appearance in the 9th inning in which he walked, a very nondescript plate appearance. And no Mike Trout in the game. So who do they have left? They have Anthony Rendon. They have a couple of starting pitchers that aren't very good. In fact, his eyes will be lighting up when we go into the games today about the Angels starting pitcher against the Giants tonight. But the San Francisco Giants, on the heels of their winning streak, their 4-game winning streak, 5 out of the last 6, including 2 in Arizona on the road trip after the sweep by Los Angeles at home. 5 out of the last 6. They have the best record in the National League on June 1st. Who would have thought that? Raise your hands, raise your hands, raise your hands. Nobody? I don't think so, but I didn't think so either. But I'll tell you what, I knew they were going to be better than what people had. And you know why? Just because you don't know who the players are does not mean they're not good. And Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, probably the only named guys on that team. There is no more Bumgarner. There is no more Sergio Romo. There is no more guys from 2010, 2012, 2014. It's time to move on. And Farhad Zaidi, the president of baseball operations, has done just that, and they've moved on into the next series of games here. The Anaheim game, Alex Wood goes tonight. Some MLB notes to talk about as well. Talked about the Giants. How about the Tampa Bay Rays? They're on a 5-game winning streak. They won yesterday 3-1 against the New York Yankees in New York. That series has become a bigger rivalry than most people think. A lot of people and guys that I know that are older will remember for years and years and years the Yankees trained in St. Petersburg where the Rays play their regular season. So lots of Yankees fans down there. Lots of East Coast fans, transplant fans that come down, Boston Red Sox fans, even some Orioles fans that used to travel to Miami where the Orioles used to hold spring training. So the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays play. Tampa Bay gets a 3-1 win. They win on the under for me yesterday. They're playing the Yankees again today. a 5-game winning streak after losing a game last week to Kansas City, and then before that, an 11-game winning streak. So 16 out of 17 for the Tampa Bay Rays. All right, Casey's going to come in right now, so I'm going to take 30 seconds to let Casey in, and we'll be back with the Make the Money and Run podcast. We'll talk about all the baseball, the NBA, and the NHL. June 1st, 2021, a special Tuesday edition of the Make the Money and Run podcast. Hang in there with us, back in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty here. Casey Freelove going to join us in a couple of seconds. Again, you can reach us every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. Today's special edition after the Memorial Day. One other thing about the Memorial Day weekend, as I said, hopefully you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. But let's honor the servicemen and servicewomen who sacrificed their freedoms and their duties and their lives in some cases in order to make our lives better. Thank you to everybody that served. Yesterday was your day, although every day should be your day. So thank you very much to all the armed services folks that are out there. It was your weekend, and hope you all had an enjoyable weekend as well as you protect us from ours too. We bring in Freelove. As we said, we bring in Casey Freelove to the proceedings here. Casey Freelove here on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Hi, Casey. How was Memorial Day?
Hey, pretty good. Relaxing. Got my my Irish base layer, if you want to call it that, meaning I'm a little red in the face, and that's not just from the booze, but all in all, pretty relaxing. Swam and watched pretty much every single NBA playoff game, so I can feel informed as we get going here. And you know, it's funny, Vasu, when we left off on Friday, both on the podcast and on my radio show, we were talking about bad fan behavior, and it just kept right on going through the weekend. People, get yourself together. If you're at a game, my goodness, Vasu, what is going on out there in the arenas across America? Are we all PTSD from this COVID lockdown or what?
Lots of things happening in the NBA. We'll hit the NBA first. We'll go back to baseball in a second, and then we have a list of all the games, and then some of the hockey series are continuing as well. Winnipeg and Montreal will get their game one started after the Toronto Maple Leafs cannot find a way to get out of the first round. 2004, the last time they won a first-round series. 1967, when they won their last cup. Very Chicago Cub-esque before 2016. Very Cleveland Brown-ish or esque, I guess. I don't know. Some English professor. mtmarpodcast@gmail.com. I'll say esque. Cleveland Browns-esque, the way they blew a 3-1 series lead against the Montreal Canadiens as the top seed in the East. All right. Casey mentioned the NBA. We'll talk about the NBA. These are outliers, Casey. I just have a feeling. I know Boston people. I know Philadelphia people. I know all the cities that are quote-unquote tough cities to play in. They're great fan bases, and they're very loyal, and these are outliers. And you have them here in San Francisco as well, too. I don't have to go back too far 10 years ago for the Brian Stowe incident, but throwing a water bottle at Kyrie Irving after what he did. It's as Kendrick Perkins said on ESPN this morning, and he's a big Celtics guy, big part of their history. He said, it's a damn logo. What's wrong with you people? You're booing him to begin with, and then he steps on the logo after they go out and have a great game 4. They're up 3-1 in their series, and then you throw a water bottle. He's a 21-year-old kid that got arrested, and hopefully they start making more examples out of it in terms of arrests so that people don't do it. Get back to the game, enjoy what we're enjoying back from the pandemic, and don't act like a damn idiot, Casey.
Yeah, that's it. It can't even be drunken behavior at this point because I don't think you can tailgate or pregame outside. And I'm not sure how much alcohol is being served inside the arena. It's just people have become so emboldened. I was talking earlier today on another program about how perhaps it's just the fact that everybody's had such a keyboard mentality being locked in their houses. And, you know, everybody's so tough when they don't have to deal with anybody in person. And maybe the trauma of COVID has led people to think that they can just act how they want in real life. This is not Seinfeld or It's Always Sunny. You can't just go do whatever the hell you want and think that you're going to get away with it without any recourse. I think that the teams are doing the best they can as far as banning the fans. But as one of the many people I've read this weekend pointed out, look, you can change your face. You can grow a beard. You can put on a different hat and look a lot different. So I don't know if you're going to have to create some sort of black book fan database. You can't ask people for fingerprints or anything like that. But the bottom line is it's just so foreign for guys like you and me who have been to hundreds and hundreds of professional games over the course of our life. I've never really thought to take a swing at somebody in the stands. And I certainly have never thought that I would want to take my probably at this point $9 water bottle and throw it at a player. I need to drink that liquid refreshment because it's hot outside, Vasu.
No doubt, Casey. I just don't understand it. I mean, it's one thing you bought a ticket. I guess you're allowed to say what you want, even though some of the things that are said with children around and other people around should not be said either. But I guess if it's going to get to that level, I guess that's the level that it should max out at, because when it starts getting physical, then that's the problem. You heard about the Boston fan who was challenging people to fights, and he was a big guy. And when the police came over, he said, I paid $40 for my seat, which I don't know how he got that deal for a playoff game, but congratulations, sir, on that. But $40 for a ticket. He goes, I paid my $40. You're not big enough to move me. In which case, probably 3 or 4 cops came in right in and did that. They didn't show that on TV. So that's a dumb idiot. I hope you're listening to us, sir. Please email us and tell us why you're acting like an idiot. We'd really love to know the mentality behind stupidity's side. The popcorn on Russell Westbrook. Another Utah incident to John Morant's family after Russell Westbrook complained about the fans in Utah. And we said it last week, and I know a lot of people in Utah. I don't know how many people in Utah you know. Crystal Blanca, a good friend of mine, lives in Utah. People are nice. Outside, they're very pleasant. They're very welcoming. They're very nice people to have conversations with. I guess, I don't know, Salt Lake City allows alcohol, so maybe they just don't know what to do with the alcohol and they just go after people. But these guys were going after it. I've seen stuff over the years in front of kids. It's just terrible, Casey. And I don't know. I don't know what we do, but hopefully it doesn't continue. Hopefully the NBA comes down hard. You said if they're going to try and get back in on bans, the fake beards, fake mustaches, we may have to create just like the FBI and CIA do, we may have to create a dark web of fan bases, of unruly fan bases. I don't know. And then have hackers get into it and figure out who's who. So tell me a solution right now after the pandemic. I'm open for anything after 2020.
Yeah, especially like when we just started opening the arenas last week, and this has been the result of it so far. Maybe cooler heads will prevail. You've got a lot of passion pent up because don't forget, these fans didn't get to see their teams play in the bubble except for on TV, just like you and me and the rest of the world. So it's kind of their first time that they've been around a large group of people. And wherever you go, you know, as they say, individual people are smart, but groups of people can be not smart. Let's just leave it at that and hope that cooler heads prevail. And again, I'll say it again. I'm going to make a t-shirt. MTMAR right here. It's only a game. It's just a game. If you lose, get them next time.
Or at least make a better bet if you're going to do that, if you're going to support MTMAR. But let's get into the NBA games itself.
Yeah, but before you move on, just wait till we start having betting kiosks in all these arenas and you see guys starting to lose.
Cannot wait.
You think that fan interaction with the player that missed the three-pointer that cost him $1,000 is going to go real well after the game? Yes.
Please, Casey, don't start that. I love the idea, but I don't like the net result you're going to, but I can see where it's going that way. So hopefully, please, fans, you're not part of the game. They're still human beings. You can boo, you can yell, you can scream, you can do all you want, but don't injure anybody and don't go after anybody. And Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving said the same thing after their game. I don't know if they were trying to make it racist or not. Let's not go that route, but let's just hope that discretion of valor comes through and there's no more incidents like that. All right, so fan behavior continues to be a problem. Joel Embiid got hurt yesterday in the Game 4 against Washington. They're not going to play it until tomorrow night. They did lose Washington 3-1 down to Philadelphia. Philadelphia's defense really, really good, and they still had a chance to win even when Embiid went down. Anthony Davis did not return in the second half for the Lakers against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns came back and won that game on the road to force Game 5 at a 2-2 clip. Portland-Denver is also 2-2 after both teams split their home-and-home series. Clippers and Dallas, interesting. All 4 teams have won on the road, Casey. We talked about that last week with the possibility of the Clippers coming back. 2-2 LA Clippers at Dallas, Game 5 tonight. Lakers Phoenix, Game 5 tonight. They're all 2-2. Brooklyn looks to close out Boston. We talked about that already. I don't think Boston has a chance tonight. The line reflects that, 12.5 points. And then Philadelphia, Washington, Atlanta, New York, Utah, Memphis. How about Utah? Looks like they're getting healthy and starting to take it out on a very defenseless Memphis Grizzlies team. All 3-1 up, looking to close out and move on to round 2, Casey.
Yeah, we were hoping for some really tight series, and we're probably not going to get it except for Portland against Denver. I mean, to see the Big Three put up 104 points in that win, very impressive. And we're just seeing the beginnings of how well these guys can play together. And you forget, it's like, hey, by the way, if any of those three are struggling at all, you've got the highest percentage three-point shooter as well there with Harris that you can kick the ball out to, and he can kill you from outside. So Brooklyn is playing really well. Now, you could say it's because they've got all three guys, but I think these guys like Steve Nash. They've bought into his system. They, of course, love playing with each other because they've enjoyed so much success on the times that they've been on the court. Kyrie didn't go as ballistic in the press conference as I thought he might after having the water bottle thrown at his head. He spoke from the heart, and I thought that was cool. But they feeling like that chip on their shoulder, you know what I mean? And they're back home in Brooklyn. They don't have to leave again if they win the game tonight. And Vegas is reflecting that in the point spread. I mean, it opened at 11.5. It's now up to 12.5. 234.5 is the total, the highest total on the board across the entire playoffs, by the way, if you're looking forward to tomorrow as well. So I expect this one to be high pace. I think Boston really was hurt without having Kemba Walker in there. I mean, you got to have that guy in there instigating your offense. And without him, they looked okay early. They hung tight in the first quarter, but then it just kind of got away from them. Then Brooklyn went on these scoring streaks like they will and really looked like the best team in the Eastern Conference. They continue to be the number one choice as far as future betting on the board. One other thing, Vasu, that happened over the weekend, the Lakers are no longer the favorite to win the Western Conference. They've now swapped spots with Utah. LA's now plus 270 to win the West, and the Utah Jazz are now 2-1 on your money to win the West. I think you and I could have probably logically debated that was probably the right way to do it anyway. But to kind of continue on this, the way the Jazz are playing, they're very good in stretches. And the thing is, they drew a really tough damn opponent. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that you're going to want to watch, folks, next year. Just the development of all their guys. I mean, Brooks looks like a stud. Ja Morant's all world. They're buying into what their coach is doing. They play tough. They play good defense in stretches. They're going against the best team in the West record-wise, so I didn't expect them to win the games. But they've definitely made a series that we thought might get away from them early much more watchable. So, 3-1s. We've got the 2-2 tonight with Portland and Denver, but it's not quite as exciting as I was hoping for in the first round. And as I throw it back to you here, I know it's not till tomorrow, but look, New York Knicks fans are delusional. Look, the Hawks are better than you. They're outplaying you.
First time ever they're delusional.
Right. Julius Randle has literally disappeared. I mean, they figured out he can't move to his left, so they started guarding him and forcing him to move to his left. They don't have any other guys that can really score on a consistent basis. Meanwhile, Trae Young has used that spit motivation to just drive him. Bogdanovich has looked great. I really like the way the Hawks are playing right now, and I'm not going to be surprised if they don't head back to Atlanta for this.
No doubt about it. They're going to New York tomorrow. We'll get to the Wednesday games in a second. So here are the lines here. 12.5, 234 for Brooklyn. 104 of the 148 points, he said, by the big three from Brooklyn the other day on the road. 2 convincing wins. Boston did have the game one at home win. So the fourth game was a blowout, as were the first 2 games. Boston had a chance in game 2 on the road to upset Brooklyn, but Brooklyn came back with that offense in the second half. 234 the total. I got a feeling that Boston's going to do anything they can to score. So you're going to need, not only 50 from Tatum, you're going to need 60 or 70 from Tatum to keep in with that point spread. Denver at -2 against Portland, 226. What a good series that's been. Portland won game 1. Denver won game 3 on the road. And now both the home teams won in the other 2 games. And so game 5, very pivotal tonight with Denver a -2, Portland 226. Got to figure out how to play defense and stop that Nikola Jokic in there. And also Monty Morris has come back from injury and played really well too. Phoenix, I guess the line went up to 6 now. I just checked it a second ago. But when I got the line, it was -5 versus the Lakers. Anthony Davis went out in the second half. The total 207. All 4 games, the total has come down from 217 to 210 to 209 to 207. And now here we are at this game at 207. Again, 207.5 in some shops. So let's break down the Phoenix-Lakers game, Casey. What'd you see, and what do you think about the Lakers without Davis?
Well, they just they can't do it without Davis. What seems to have happened is the roles have flipped. Where we were worried about Chris Paul's shoulder, he looked like he was golden in the win. And Anthony Davis not being on the court certainly hurts them, because you see at times when they've got their guys on the court, nobody wants the ball except for LeBron. I mean, LeBron, they basically have somebody else dribble it down. They give it to him up high and let him figure out how he's going to go about scoring the ball. The only time they're even getting open looks are those corner threes when the guys kind of bounce out as LeBron moves towards the hoop. So I think that they've got a lot of work to do. Frank Vogel's going to have to figure out some kind of other strategy. Meanwhile, with Anthony Davis out, DeAndre Ayton was already playing all world, Vasu. and he just looks even better. Commanding force down low for Phoenix. Devin Booker looks like he could just run all day and night, and having Chris Paul healthy certainly makes a big difference. And really, when you look at guys like Cameron Payne or even Kaminsky or Kaminsky, I believe, from Wisconsin,
Kaminsky,
they've just got a nice little roster that's very tough for LA to match up with. And I think you as a Lakers fan, and I have talked about this on and off the air for the entire season, if AD and LeBron are not together on the court, this is not the same team. And it certainly showed there. I guess my question to you is, strategy-wise for tomorrow, you've got to be thinking, at the very least, Davis is not going to get you the minutes he's accustomed to, even if he does play. Are you maybe better off resting him and potentially digging yourself a huge hole you got to dig out of?
Well, they're going to have to play better defense. There's no doubt about it. One guy that they did miss in Game 5, and then when Davis went out in the second half, it didn't help, was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP did not play in Game 5, and he's a good three-point shooter. Very good on-the-ball defender, and I think he would have leveled Devin Booker a little bit more from the output that they had on Sunday. So you get Pope back. You get Davis back, hopefully. But what I saw, and you mentioned DeAndre Ayton, he is having a good series. And I liked him in college. I didn't know how good he was going to be a pro, but he's obviously coming through right now with the offensive output that he has. But Andre Drummond and Marc Gasol and all their other big guys in there, they got to be more physical with him. And I don't think they're being as physical with him as not. And Andre Drummond is known for physicality. And if he's not physical with these guys and they're going to go at him, Andre Drummond doesn't have that kind of skill to match foot speed with these guys. So you got to be able to be physical, maybe go half court a little bit more. LeBron leads them up the floor, and we just see how it goes. But Caruso's played okay. Kuzma's played okay. Morris shot the ball pretty well for them, but for the most part, they've played pretty well. Phoenix is a better team. They were second in the con. By the way, what were Phoenix's odds? You mentioned the Utah and Laker odds for the West. What was Phoenix's odds? Because I'm curious after Game 4 if it changed for them.
Yeah, let me pull that up here. And while I'm doing that, I want to get your thoughts on why Montrezl Harrell was sitting there in sweatpants for quite some time. That was a little baffling. I don't think he even got in the game till the third quarter. You're talking about a most recent sixth man of the year, and we all know how Trez can play. I mean, I've followed him back to Louisville. That guy is a maniac. And I don't know if he did something to piss off the coach, or maybe he's dealing with an injury we don't know about, but that was a little bit odd.
He's just got one of those. He's got one of those games where if they're running up and down, those big guys cannot keep up with the speed teams right now, and I just think that may be a problem. And without Davis can run the court with anybody, and so they've got to match up with Anthony Davis. But if you don't have Anthony Davis there, LeBron can't lead every break, and so I think they just gonna have to work it out, and they're gonna have to have Harrell and Gasol and Drummond. I meant Harrell, not Morris, but Harrell, Gasol and Drummond to match up against Ayton and defend better. They're still the number one team against the three-point field goal defense, so they can't let them shoot like they did the other day as well too, Casey.
All right, so looking at the Western Conference odds, as I mentioned, the Jazz and Lakers have flipped spots. Utah 2-1, Lakers 270. The Clippers now the third choice on the board at plus 290, and we can talk about that series a little bit in a moment. Suns 8-1, Portland 18-1, and then the Denver Nuggets 20-1. These are all just to win the Western Conference. Overall, Brooklyn has moved down even further, and they will continue to do so. They're now plus 190 to win the title. And this is where the big shuffle comes. The Lakers have gone from the second choice down to the fourth. So Utah right now is plus 525 to win the title. The Bucks are plus 575. Then you got the Lakers at 6-1, Clippers at 6.5-1, and the Sixers, perhaps as a result of Embiid being hurt, because it's not as a result of their play on the court, are now plus 750. And then it gets way out there. If you want to take a flyer, like on a Phoenix, they're 18-1. Denver's
still 18-1. Wow,
yeah, 18-1
really?
on the Suns, man. I don't know.
That's not bad. I have to think about that. All right, before we get to Wednesday's game, just to picks aside. We'll have the official picks at the end, point spread wise and everything. If you're looking at, does Brooklyn close out Boston? Who wins Game 5s between Denver, Portland, Phoenix, Lakers, Casey?
I think that Brooklyn does close out Boston. This Trailblazers series is very hard to figure, and they've done a phenomenal job, by the way, Las Vegas has, with setting these lines at Denver -2. You're just thinking, Jokic is so good, they got to be able to do it. I think that Portland's going to get it done. In fact, I might even add that to my plays. I like them plus the 2. And then this Lakers thing is just literally a toss-up. Phoenix a 5-point favorite. I'm not going to toy with that. I will be toying with the total because I think that there is a reason it keeps coming down. It's because the Lakers don't have the flow on offense to put up a whole bunch of points, so I'm leaning towards the under. But I think that Phoenix at home understands they're in a very good spot here. And I know the LeBron factor, and I know the Lakers and the hype and all that, but the Suns are a team that believe they're better, and I think they will get the outright win tonight. What about you?
I like Brooklyn to close out. I like Portland to win Game 5, And I'm going to abstain from Phoenix and the Lakers right now until the end because I really don't. I was thinking about it for 2 hours, so what's another half an hour until the pick segment comes? Let's go to Wednesday here. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Casey, Freelove, Charlie O on assignment. Make the Money and Run podcast for Tuesday. Hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. Knicks 1.5 versus Atlanta 208. That's a little high for me too, just on first look. Clippers 7 217. Might have gone down a little bit because these lines have always been 6 or 6.5 or 7 at home for the Clippers. Yet the Clippers were still favored by 3 and 2.5. Boy, did I look dumb thinking the Mavericks were going to come through. And then Utah 9.5 versus Memphis. They're completely healthy, and I don't think Memphis plays good enough defense. And I think Utah smells blood in the water. And they might just go after him at home for Game 5. I don't think they want to travel back to Tennessee for Game 6 on Friday or Saturday, whenever they play. And then Philadelphia, check the injury report before you go after Philadelphia because this is a low line considering how bad they blew them out the first 3 games. Yesterday's game was a lot closer because Joel Embiid went out in the second half of the game, did not return. They're up 3-0. Why risk it? There's no reason to. You just come back home and possibly win it, more than likely win it at home. That total, 229.5. Still seems low for the way the Wizards score, so that may be a way to go. But if you're looking at the Sixers, check out Joel Embiid and see if he's playing. Because I said at the beginning of the year, he's still my MVP candidate. He just didn't play enough games, probably to qualify for the voters' recommendations or voters' liking. But he's still the MVP in my book, and he plays better defense than the other MVP candidates that were there. And did you see him shoot threes over this series? Holy cow! All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, he's always had it ever since Kansas, but he's showing everybody that he can shoot, and he's got footwork from his soccer days, and he can dominate on the inside because he is a big boy. If you ever see him in person, he's got massive shoulders, and it's hard to body him up. And I think all those guys from Washington, they're big guys in the East, and they haven't matched up with Embiid all year at all this year, Casey.
He has to make those threes because he has to make up for what garbage free throw shooter Ben Simmons is. I mean, Shaq is thinking, dude, what are you doing out here? I mean, I can't believe we're seeing Hack-a-Shaq with a guy that's not a center. I mean, it's quite frankly embarrassing. I was watching the game with my girlfriend yesterday, and I'm like, you understand this is the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. She's like, well, wait, if they're number 1, shouldn't they be at least good at every aspect of the game? I'm like, well, typically you would think that, but this guy has gotten progressively worse from the line. They're doing the Hack-a-Shaq treatment, especially in the fourth quarter, until they get to that 2-minute spot where it becomes a penalty. But all in all, I don't know. I'm not as high on the Sixers as I was coming into this. And if Embiid's hurt at all, that's going to hurt their chances as well. Look, they're going to win this series. Obviously, they're going to beat the Wizards and move on. And Washington's a fun team. They'll be a team to watch next year. But right now, if we're talking buy, sell, I don't know if I have the Sixers as high up as I did. And while I have you here, let me just double check the Eastern Conference odds since we just went through the West. I believe that, obviously the Nets are a huge favorite to win the East, which makes sense. They are minus 125. So when you get into minus territory, that's just brutal. Bucks plus 280, Sixers plus 325, and then the Hawks plus 3,000. So I don't know. Is
Over the
there
Bucks
anyone
again?
of
I
those
missed what you said on the Bucks. I missed what you said on the Bucks.
Plus 280.
Okay, that's not bad. They're actually playing real well right now, and I know Jim Cosmore likes Milwaukee a lot, maybe because they're starting to play better in the way they play defense against Miami. But Miami was hurt. They're awaiting the Boston Brooklyn series. The winner, Milwaukee is waiting. The winner of that series would probably be Brooklyn, and then 4-5 Atlanta, New York will get Philadelphia and Washington. Probably Philly. I think Atlanta does close out tonight. I think they're shooting the ball well. The way they play defense. Nate McMillan, ever since he took over the team from Lloyd Pierce, Bay Area guy Lloyd Pierce, ever since he took over the team, the defense has decreased their defensive rating from 114 a game to 102 a game. That's a 12-point difference over a stretch of 45 games. That is a big difference if you took that over a 45-game period. There's no doubt Atlanta's playing better defense. These totals are reflected in on the betting lines, and the way they're blowing teams out. The last 2 games against the Knicks, I actually had the Knicks on Friday night. I thought it was going to be a closer game, but Atlanta played better defense, and then they got hot. Kevin Huerter, guy nobody knows about from Maryland, he's shooting the lights out. And then you've got Trae Young, of course, and then DeAndre Hunter as well too, and Lots of guys on the team that can shoot, and then Capella on the inside is a lot more physical than people think. I think people think of him with Houston as a guy that could run up and down with Harden and all that, but Clint Capella is an offensive board machine. Maybe not like Andre Drummond, but he's right there, and he's getting doubles because of his tenacity on the offensive boards to tip in shots, and he's a better free throw. Heck, he might be a better free throw shooter than Ben Simmons. Who knows?
I think he might be.
He might be. It's going to be a rough contest to see that. It's not like a 40-yard dash, but it's a free throw contest. So we'll see how that goes. All right, that's the NBA for right now. We'll have more on Thursday as these series continue to wind down. We got a lot of baseball to talk about. Let's take 30, and we'll come back with the Major League Baseball. Tell me on June 1st if you had the Tampa Bay Rays and the San Francisco Giants with the best records in baseball. We'll discuss that and more as we've gone 2 months through the baseball season. Casey Freelove, Vasu, Vaddiparty, Make the Money and Run podcast. Hope you had a great weekend. Enjoy it. Stick with us. We'll have all the baseball stuff in 30. To the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 1st, 2021, a special Tuesday edition as we had the Memorial Day weekend holiday. There were a lot of games going on yesterday, and I was in San Francisco to watch the lifeless Los Angeles Angels play the San Francisco Giants, who have the best record in the National League. The Tampa Bay Rays have the best record in the major leagues, and that would include, that's the American League, obviously. But yeah, the fact is that they're playing really well. They're on a 5-game winning streak after their win over the Yankees yesterday. 3-1. I had the under in that game, under 7.5, under 8.5, easily. The Yankees do not score any runs. They're on a 4-game losing streak right now. Tampa Bay on a 5-game winning streak. Their last loss was to Kansas City at home last Tuesday. It was a 2-1 loss to Rich Hill, in which they lost. That was after an 11-game winning streak. So, Casey, the Tampa Bay Rays, speaking of guys that don't have a lot of name recognition unless you follow them like I do in terms of being in baseball circles, have won 16 out of 17 and are really dominating the American League.
None of us saw this level of domination. We all knew that. I mean, they are the defending AL champions, but the thing is, they lost two of their 3 best pitchers. So we thought that they were going to take a step back. Instead, Father Time, can you believe Rich Hill is still pitching? I feel like Rich Hill is my age. How is this guy still in Major League Baseball? But, he picked up his 4th victory. Austin Meadows has been hitting the ball a little bit. And they don't have that many injuries they're dealing with. I'm looking at today's starting lineups, and as far as Yankees versus Rays, it's like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio as far as guys that are hurt and or available. Tampa's on a run, as you mentioned, 9-1 in their last 10, doing it with only a 212 batting average, but the ERA is amazing at 2.63, outscoring opponents by 25 runs. Meanwhile, the Yankees are 4-6, and I think the most telling stat on this, Vasu, what's wrong with the Yankees? Well, their front office didn't do a good job building this team. They've got guys who can hit the ball out of the park, but they don't have a whole lot of pieces. Because in years past, when they've been winners, they've had pieces. They're just 12-17 against their division. And you knew you had to pick up wins against that division. You've got to beat Boston, Toronto, and Baltimore to put yourself in position. And Tampa Bay just doesn't even care about that. I mean, Vasu, when was the last time you remember a team starting 20-7 away from home, let alone a team from Tampa, Florida? I mean, that is very impressive. And I think maybe ESPN or Major League Baseball Network needs to kind of effort to get these guys on television a little more. I know the fan base is small down there, but you can't deny quality. And this franchise is really kind of becoming one of the gold standards as far as not spending a lot of money, using their minor league, keeping the players in place that they need to, and just kind of believing they can win.
Tyler Glasnow? Who?
Yes.
Casey Frierson, spelled like Eisen at the end, but it's Fierson. Fire Eisen is the way you pronounce it. He's their closer now, Diego Castillo. Who? All these guys that were not there last year in the 2020 World Series, and even in the 2020 World Series, they didn't get a lot of name recognition. Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena, G-Man Choi, who's else?
Joey Wendell.
Joey Wendell, yeah, that's who I was thinking of, the former Oakland A prospect. All these guys are there, and they're all contributing. They're pitching really well. Their middle relief is going well. Their openers, Kevin Cash has got it going on down there. Yes, you do have to win in that division. You got the Yankees. I expect the Yankees maybe will have another win streak at some point. But the Yankees' problem is, you're right, they'd only hit the ball out of the park. They play lousy defense. Gary Sanchez is a terrible catcher. He gets tons of pass balls every year. His arm is great, but he doesn't get in a position to throw runners out. He only hits home runs and he strikes out a lot. Gee, that's 21 baseball. I get it, but you got to be able to do some. You got to be able to do some other things. And then they lost Luke Voigt to the season as well too. So their first base problems are up in the air. DJ LeMahieu is not having the same type of MVP year he did 2 years ago, and it's just been a rough go for the Yankees. Chapman's been okay, but their middle relief and their pitchers after Kluber, and now Kluber's out. So the Yankees are having a tough time. We look at the Major League Baseball notes here. Boston's pitching also suspect. They're having a tough time with Houston. I think Houston's going to expose Boston's pitching. They did yesterday with an 11-2 victory over the Astros, even though Boston is still in second place behind Tampa Bay. They're only a game back and 2 back in the loss column, I believe. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Boston because they can hit the ball, but they don't have any pitching. And you can see that. Yesterday's game was on ESPN. I saw that they gave up Eddie Rodriguez, their best pitcher, Eduardo Rodriguez, their best pitcher, gave up 6 runs in 4 innings, and the 8.5 over was an easy over, or the 9 over, whatever it was. Whatever it was 13 runs, and it went over. So Boston suspect, Houston making a push on the A's right now. The A's had one in the 11th inning, could not hold it. Jake Diekman, not his fault in extra innings. I don't blame relief pitchers in extra innings. You start with a runner at second. But the A's had chances to win. They could not push across that run. Give Seattle credit. They're still playing well. They're playing well, and they're still in the mix of things in the American League West. And then the Angels and Rangers are right there. No Ohtani, no Trout for the Angels yesterday. I was looking forward to going to the game and actually staying for a few hours since it was a holiday, and I was going to get done working. Day off today, day off tomorrow, and then the Cubs come into town, which is another hot team. They're playing San Diego right now. But the Angels, without Ohtani and without Trout, Rendon's not even playing up to snuff. Justin Upton's hitting .210. Their bullpen is crap. They're starting pitching. Oh, your eyes are going to light up when we go to the odds on the American League. I know it's already pitching for the Angels tonight against the Giants tonight. So I said, Casey's going to be very happy to take this team against this pitcher tonight when we get to the picks because I have them as well too. But elsewhere in baseball, a big series in the American League Central. I think Chicago has separated themselves. The White Sox and Indians have 3.5 up on the Indians. But it's still a big series between the Indians and the White Sox, and Shane Bieber can get them closer with the game tonight. The game actually starts at an hour earlier than the other games. It starts in about an hour, 6 o'clock Eastern. Shane Bieber and Dylan Cease are going to go for the White Sox. The White Sox plus 80 in run differential. By the way, in run differential, Casey, I don't know if you noticed, 12 of the 30 teams are in positive run differential. 2 are at 0, and the others are negative run differential. So I don't know what to make of that, but I'm just saying only 30% of the teams are outscoring their teams on overall the whole year. And I don't know what to make of that, but it's very interesting to me to see that. And the White Sox are right there at plus 180. And I think they've got a good shot to separate themselves with the Indians. I know Tony Russo's made a point of that both in the media and to his club. The Cubs are red hot. They're playing San Diego. Great game last night in Los Angeles. The Cardinals and Dodgers. Cardinals now in second place after the loss to LA. Trevor Bauer didn't have his greatest game, but he was effective enough. The Dodgers win again. Send St. Louis in the second place. The Dodgers in third behind the Padres and Giants. Jack Flaherty left after 5 innings yesterday after a swing. What's your thoughts on the DH, Casey? Because now I'm starting to come around on pitchers hitting. They don't take pride in it. They don't work on it. And Jack Flaherty, 8-1 coming into the game, 2.8 ERA, might have to go on the injured list because of a bad swing that pulled a muscle in his abdomen.
I think that might be one of the points that's brought up, literally individual at-bats that are going to cost pitchers starts. And I'm a traditional guy. I mean, I like the DH in the AL. I like that the pitchers have to hit the NL. As a gambler, it's definitely more fascinating because it makes you really adjust your totals betting because you're obviously going to lean towards overs in the AL and unders in the NL. But it is a shame when guys that aren't even having to do it that often, especially with all the interleague series, they're just not skilled at it anymore. I mean, some of these guys haven't swung the bat at quite some time from the plate, and you're seeing it out there. But I don't like seeing pitchers lose time doing their main thing. It's kind of like an offshoot. You know, we're talking about how Ben Simmons can't make free throws. Well, a lot of pitchers can't make contact with baseballs because they're just not accustomed to it. You can almost throw anything you want. You just throw sliders away, and they're going to strike out on 3 pitches. But all in all, as far as the Cardinals and Dodgers, those are both 2 teams that are going to be right there and very competitive. I haven't been that impressed with Trevor Bauer, but that tells me there's going to be money to be made on Trevor Bauer as we get into the season because he talks, but he's also one guy that has shown us he will back up that smack talk with vicious pitching, and then he'll let you know about it as soon as he throws one past you.
Not everybody is Jacob deGrom or Madison Bumgarner or anybody else that's having a good year. Very few pitchers. Can't even name them. There's so few pitchers that are having a good year at the plate right now. And the worst part about it is they can't even get a bunt down. That's the worst part. That's your job if you're in the National League. You got to get bunts down. All right, let's look at the games in the National League today. Cincinnati, can't make out heads or tails of Cincinnati. They seem to have a good offense. Sonny Gray, their best pitcher. He's a slight favorite against Aaron Nola, the ace of the Phillies. Phillies, no Bryce Harper. They struggled in Miami over the weekend. It was a rough weekend for the Phillies in Miami. Sonny Gray, Aaron Nola. Atlanta, they got a win over Washington yesterday. Last time Steven Strasburg was an underdog to a better-than-average team, Atlanta. Not like a great team, but a better-than-average team. I can't remember, 8.5 the total. The Cubs, who are on a winning streak, they're going to, after their series against San Diego, they're going to come into San Francisco for a 4-game series. That's going to say a lot about both teams, 2 first-place teams. If the Cubs hold court this week against the Padres, I'm still not impressed with San Diego. I still think that they're right on par with the Giants. I never thought that from the beginning of the year, and they're proving me right with all the strikeouts and the bad defense that they have as well, too. Bullpen's great, but you got to get to the bullpen, and you can't give guys extra outs. Blake Snell walks the house. He has 1 bad inning every game. And then Yu Darvish has been great, not super like he was signed for, but great. And he lost his start last week as well too. And then Hendricks Weather's there. Marcus Stroman and Caleb Smith tonight in Arizona. The Mets got a win behind DeGrom, who lowered his ERA. He's still only 3-2 though, 4-2 now after the win last night. And then the Dodgers are going bullpen game with David Price and John Gant. Still 2-1 favorites over the Cardinals, who are a second place team in the NL Central. 8.5 the total. Might have to look at that under there. But David Price, been a great surprise and a great asset to them, both in the starting role, the opening role, and the bullpen, Casey.
Well, let me give you my thoughts, and I'm going to have to run here and get back to some other duties. Cardinals-Dodgers is a good series, and I wouldn't lay minus 203. I know David Price in name, but as you mentioned, it's a bullpen game, and I'd be surprised if he throws more than 5 innings. Maybe look at a first 5 under if you want to, play around with that. A's have been struggling a little bit, and since we're just doing baseball overall, what happens when you get into a bit of a struggle? You go with your stopgap, your best guy, and that's Chris Bassett, who really has been shown at 5-2 with a 3.21 ERA. I have to get the shot in at Andrew Heaney before I go as well. Yes, Alex Wood, I do believe in you tonight, and I do believe that the Angels are just a terrible franchise. 11-16 away from home, 24-30 on the season. San Francisco playing red hot at 15-7 in the friendly confines over there in San Francisco. Red Sox Astros, very intriguing series, especially the matchup tonight. Garrett Richards against Luis Garcia. I think that total might even move up to a 9 before we get going, because both teams can score a little bit. Astros are a team that's going to be surging. You're going to make money betting on them as we move towards the All-Star break, because they are a very talented club. If I'm looking around at what else I want to check on, well, anytime you got Strasburg on the mound against Fried, that's definitely baseball worth watching. And then the Padres and the Cubs. Again, 2 teams kind of sorting out their identities. San Diego playing pretty well, even though they've had some pitching struggles with their starters. And it's going to be a fun week for sure. And I can promise you I'll be watching all the NBA I can consume. So with that said,
don't forget, Casey, the Orioles have lost 14 in a row also. So that's always good money there.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Absolutely. That's why Minnesota's minus 160 on the road.
Yeah, I know, on the road. They're not very good either.
19 at home.
All right, give me your picks and we'll let you go here. I know you got to get running here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 3 baseball games today. I mentioned Chris Bassett, the stopgap. The A's haven't been scoring a lot of runs, but he doesn't allow a lot of runs. So give me Oakland minus 150. Give me Alex Wood against Andrew Heaney, the San Francisco Giants. The Bay Area special we'll call today's play. So Giants minus 153. And then I'm going to take a shot with the Kansas City Royals, because the Pittsburgh Pirates just can't score runs. They don't win away from home. And Will Crow has an ERA at 5.6. Not that Brady Singer's much better, but I will take Kansas City minus the 160 there. Lastly, they keep pushing this total down so you don't bet it. I don't care. I'm going under. Lakers Suns, I see it at 209 on Vegas Insider right now. You had it at 207. I'd be willing to take it down to 207, but let me go with the current as we're recording here just before 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll take the Lakers and Suns to go under 209. I will wish you a lot of luck, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, Casey, we'll see you Thursday. Thanks for coming on. That is Casey Freelove. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty, back with the Make the Money and Run podcast every Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays. We had a special Tuesday edition, and that's why Casey had to go. He has to get back to his work duties at his radio station in Auburn, California. Charlie O on assignment. He'll be back on Thursday. All right, let's hit the NL again real quick before we go to break here. The NL, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Sonny Gray, Aaron Nola, Max Fried, Steven Strasburg, Atlanta, Washington. Chicago hosts San Diego. Kyle Hendricks and Ryan Weathers is a very good pitcher. That's why this line's not heavier. The Cubs have been playing really well. San Diego, a good team, but the Cubs in first place now. Ryan Weathers, somebody to watch out for in the future, a left-handed pitcher for the San Diego Padres. The New York Mets, 114, slight favorite at Arizona. Marcus Stroman, Caleb Smith. Mets still having trouble scoring runs. And then, of course, the Dodgers in third place in the National League West, a game back of the Padres and 2 back of the San Francisco Giants. David Price goes as the opener tonight. He'll go up against John Gant, who's had a really good year for St. Louis. Maybe 2-1 might be a little heavy on that. All right, let's hit the American League games now. The White Sox, the Indians game is going to start in 1 hour, 6:10 Eastern, 1 hour and 10 minutes from now, 3:10 on the Pacific. Shane Bieber, last year's Cy Young Award winner, against Dylan Cease. The total there is 7. Don't see a lot of runs being scored. Didn't check the weather. Anybody in Chicago want to get on Facebook and let me know? We'll get to the Facebook acknowledgments in a second. Minnesota, $1.60 on the road at Baltimore. Orioles have lost 14 in a row. Not since 1988 have they lost that many in a row, and that was to open the season. 21 in a row they lost in Baltimore back in 1988. Tampa Bay, we talked about their success against the Yankees. It's not really a rivalry until you beat them, but their ace Tyler Glasnow goes against Domingo Germán tonight. Slight favorite for Tampa Bay. Yankees have not scored runs this whole weekend. In fact, the Detroit Tigers pitching staff shut them out. And I said yesterday, the Detroit Tigers pitching staff, not that bad. Casey Mize, Spencer Turnbull, one of the 6 no-hitters. Matthew Boyd, their ace of the staff, he'll go in the other game in the Interleague when we get to Interleague. But Tyler Glasnow might be the pick tonight for Tampa Bay until the Yankees find a way. Domingo Germán struggled his last few starts. In fact, he lost to Toronto in game 1 of that doubleheader last week at home against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays for real, by the way, in the American League East. They're going back to Buffalo. We'll get to them in the Interleague section. And then the Astros starting to make a push. They're plus 55 or plus 56 in run differential right now. They're $1.43 over Garrett Richards and the Boston Red Sox. Luis Garcia starting for Houston. He had a good game last time he started, and he pitched, I want to say 2 weeks ago against the A's when he won that game in Oakland, when Houston had a lot of success in Oakland this year. And then Casey mentioned the Oakland A's at minus 148, 7.5. It's tough to score runs in Seattle. You folks in Seattle know that. The mist and the dew and the cold air, it knocks balls down in Seattle, especially if they play with the roof open. Chris Bassett, Marco Gonzalez coming off the injured list. That might help Oakland as well because Marco Gonzalez is a touch and feel guy, and he may not be back to form yet. But Chris Bassett is the 150 favorite. He's been their best pitcher this year for the A's. They're still in first place. They're still a game up on the Houston Astros, but Houston's coming on with a strong charge. All right, we move to the Interleague games now. The Interleague games talked about Toronto. Today is June 1st. That means they've moved back to Buffalo, and they are a 152 favorite with Robbie Ray against the Miami Marlins and Sandy Alcantara. Toronto, red hot right now. They took apart the Yankees. They had a good weekend over the weekend in Cleveland. They have Miami tonight. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is scalding the ball. Marcus Semien having a good year. Bichette, Kevin Biggio. They don't even have George Springer back yet, but Toronto, 152 favorite. I'm telling you, folks, you listen to this from Uncle Vasu. He says the Buffalo/Toronto Blue Jays, the overs on this team are going to be something to be had for because eventually these lines are going to go back up. I think this is 8.5 because the Marlins don't score a lot of runs, but in that stadium, that park yields a lot of home runs and a lot of runs. 8.5 is going to be very cheap on some of these games, so you might want to look at the over tonight. Eric Lauer goes for the Milwaukee Brewers against Matthew Boyd, the ace of the Tigers, 161 for Milwaukee. This is no ordinary pitcher, Matthew Boyd. He's a good pitcher. On a better team, he would have an above 500 record. He's been in trade talks for the last 4 years on the Tigers' docket. Kansas City, Casey mentioned Kansas City, $1.78. Brady Singer, one of the high draft picks from a few years ago against Will Crow, 8 the total there. I had the over 9. That worked out well for me. Texas, a road favorite at Colorado. Germán Marquez, Colorado struggled. They've had 1 win in their last 10 games. Dane Dunning goes for Texas. Germán Marquez goes for Colorado. And then we referenced Andrew Heaney and the Los Angeles Angels. No Ohtani, no Trout. Rendon having a bad year. He was on the injured list. Justin Upton not hitting a lick. And this guy, Keon Wong, is hitting the ball for the Angels. Got his first major league hit the other day against the Giants, against the who'd the Angels play? Against the A's over the weekend, and then he got a triple yesterday against the Giants. Alex Wood, Andrew Heaney, the total 7, 153 for the San Francisco Giants. Look for the Giants to continue their roll. All right, back in 30 seconds, we'll have a little hockey talk a little NFL notes, and then we'll give you our picks for the day. Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Stables Media. Download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, on Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, or you can catch us live at 4:15 Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays on Facebook and on our YouTube channel as well too. Make the money and run. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty, back in 30. Vasu Vaddiparty here on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Casey Freelove had to take off a little early. Charlie O on assignment on a special Tuesday edition, June 1st, 2021. No show yesterday for Memorial Day. Lots of baseball in the daytime, some NBA basketball as well too. We have the same effect today with Major League Baseball, the NBA, and some NHL, which we'll get to in a second. You can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. If you missed the live broadcast and you definitely want to get our picks, I think the three of us are starting to get hot right now, so I'll give you my picks in a little bit. Anyway, all right, moving on. There's a lot of NFL news to talk about, but we're not going to get into a lot of it right now. The Julio Jones matter is going to be settled after June 2nd. Salary cap issues are limiting the trade to not happen until after June 1st, June 2nd. I read in the paper today, June 2nd, that the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, look out NFC West. If Julio Jones is with DK Metcalf and their other receiver, I can't remember their other receiver's name right now, but if they've got that combination for Russell Wilson to throw the ball to, look out, because they can run the ball a little bit. Defense has got to improve, but the NFC West is going to be really tough. Kyler Murray, another year in the system for Arizona. That's going to be tough. 49ers have their defense back. Hopefully everybody's healthy for them. Don't know if they want to go after Julio Jones or not. Of course, Julio Jones was on the Super Bowl team with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. You got to think that's in place too. But it looks like after Julio Jones' comments on the FS1 show, Skip and Shannon show, that he's definitely out of Atlanta. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where he ends up. But right now, the leaders in the clubhouse, to mix sports metaphors, is the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks for the services of Julio Jones. The Aaron Rodgers drama continues. Nothing new to report there. We'll see a lot more after the league year. League year has already started, but after the salary cap restrictions are lifted and everybody knows what they have to spend, because we're not anywhere near free agency starting yet as far as the real free agency. So see how that goes, and we'll go from there. All right, little NHL news before we get to the picks here. Good series in the NHL. So our friend Kevin Kurz from The Athletic texted me yesterday because I was trying to figure out the format for this playoff series, because the Canadian teams are still having travel troubles, and hopefully if they're quarantined, then when their series is over up there in Canada, then they'll be able to travel to the United States. I'm not sure if it's still a 10 or 14-day quarantine. If that even is the case, Joe Madden of Hustle and Grind on our Stables Media Network, hopefully she's listening or watching. Maybe she can send a comment. By the way, before I forget, let me thank everybody on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere that you download or subscribe our podcast. Robbie and Taylor there. Of course, Vinny G down in San Diego. His show on Sundays with Glenn Morrell, The Sunday Spin, a great podcast. Check out stablesmedia.com if you're interested in other shows, non-sports shows as well. And if you're interested in starting your own podcast, great place to go, Stables Media. Check it out and get in contact with them and see if we can't help you or they can't help you in terms of getting yourself set up with a podcast. All right, the NHL, today's game, there's only one game today. The Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. My Tampa Bay Lightning, my favorite team in the East. I am a Blackhawks fan, but they haven't sniffed the playoffs in a few years, so I'll go eastward to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, an underdog on the road. They are 1-0 series lead in their series with Carolina. This is game 2 tonight. They're still an underdog, about a -105, 5.5 the total. I like Tampa Bay in this series. I think their goaltender, Vasilevsky, has been outstanding. He's up for the Vezina Trophy Award for the best goaltender. He and Grabauer from Colorado, and I just saw it this morning. The three candidates for the NHL Goaltender of the Year award, the Vezina Trophy. So Colorado looks like the best team. They're going to play Wednesday against Las Vegas. They scored 7 goals on Marc-Andre Fleury and the Vegas Knights defense at home in Colorado. By the way, did anybody remember the 1995-96 Quebec Nordiques? Well, they ended up becoming the 1996-97 Colorado Avalanche. And what did they do with a goalie named Patrick Waugh, a Hall of Famer? All they did in the first year, not very Golden Knight-like, but they did end up winning the Stanley Cup instead of just getting to the Stanley Cup like the Golden Knights did 2 years ago. Colorado, a $1.80 favorite tomorrow night versus Las Vegas. Winnipeg and Montreal, very interesting series there. Game 1 starts tomorrow because Montreal pulled the biggest upset in a long, long time, and it does not hurt their feelings at all that they did it against what's perceived to be Canada's hockey team, Toronto. The Hall of Fame is in Toronto. Hockey was born in Toronto, according to people in Toronto. I do believe that to be true. Winnipeg, after their 4-game sweep over Edmonton, Edmonton was a heavy favorite in every game, and all Winnipeg did was get 4 wins in a row as a heavy underdog. I think they were a slight underdog in the 4th game, but they ended up winning that game, sweeping Edmonton, and they are in against the Montreal Canadiens, who upset the Toronto Maple Leafs. The number 1 seed in the East get upset. They had a 3-1 series lead on Montreal, Canada's sport, 2 best teams, the original 6. 5.5 the total for Winnipeg, Montreal, but Toronto loses the 3-1 series. They lose 3-1 to Montreal. Toronto is out. Our buddy here in the Bay Area, Joe Thornton, not going to get a chance to move on to the playoffs, not going to get a chance to go to the Cup. We'll see where he ends up next year, if he's back with Toronto or not, but what a chance for Toronto to get there, and they couldn't do it as a 1 seed. Colorado, Vegas tomorrow as well, too. And then Boston and the Islanders in the other division. What a game last night in overtime. The Islanders get a win on the road at Boston, 4-3 in overtime. Boston's played a ton of overtime games already this year. I think the first 3 against Washington were all overtime, and then yesterday. So at least 4 overtime games for the Boston Bruins in their playoff series. So how it works right now, for those that haven't followed, so they've separated all the hockey into 4 divisions, and all you did was play against your division. So the top 4 from each division played. You eliminate that, and then the final 2 play. And so according to our friend Kevin Kurz from The Athletic, who covers hockey, he says that after the 4 winners of each division are laid out, so Winnipeg, Montreal, Colorado, Vegas, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Boston, and the New York Islanders, those 4 winners, home ice is going to be determined by what you were in your regular season standings, so your points. And so check your standings. So you have the most points. Right now it's Colorado. They look like the best team in the Western Conference, and they look like they're on their way to a Stanley Cup, but that's why you play the games. Winnipeg Jets on line 2 saying, don't forget about us, because we just swept as an underdog 4 straight, so you cannot count anybody out. I'm still rooting for Tampa Bay of the teams that are left in this final 8. After this weekend or sometime early next week, we'll get to the final 4 of hockey, and then that's where it'll get interesting, and Lord Stanley Cup will be presented at that point, and that's why I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the Canadian teams, the Canadian division, the Canadian teams, either Winnipeg or Montreal, and how they're going to come into the United States with the travel restrictions. So we'll see how it goes from there. All right, Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty here. Casey had to go early. Charlie is on assignment, so let's get to picks here. That's what everybody waits for. The game that's going to start in exactly 1 hour, 6:10 Eastern. Chicago White Sox plus 80 run differential, the highest in baseball. They have Dylan Cease going tonight against the 2020 Cy Young Award winner. I shouldn't say defending, but Shane Bieber. He's a 147 favorite. I'm taking the White Sox at plus 137. This is a good chance for the White Sox to separate themselves in the AL Central. They're already 3.5 up on Cleveland. So Dylan Cease and the White Sox on the road at Cleveland. Sonny Gray has pitched well all year for Cincinnati. If he gets any offense, and I think they will, and against Philadelphia, who's been half and half lately, some garbage, some good, etc., etc. Cincinnati minus 109. The Cubs are red hot right now. They've overtaken the Cardinals for first place. They're minus 111 because Ryan Weathers is pretty good, and San Diego still is a pretty good team, but I don't think they're the team that everybody thought of. Tyler Glasnow, the ace of the Rays. Until the Yankees beat them, I'm going with Tampa Bay, even in New York. 5-game winning streak for the Rays. Yankees on a 4-game losing streak. Give me Tyler Glasnow. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays. Robbie Ray and Toronto against the Miami Marlins. They don't score enough. Toronto back in Buffalo. They're going to score a ton of runs in Buffalo. These home games, I'm telling you, these over-unders are going to be big. Minus 152 for the Toronto Blue Jays. Robbie Ray, the left-hander, against Sandy Alcantara tonight. San Francisco Giants, red hot. 5 out of the last 6. 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers. A sweep against Arizona. A win against the Angels yesterday. No Otani. Casey's favorite pitcher, Andrew Heaney, going tonight for the Angels. 153 for Alex Wood. Give me that line all day. Give me the 2-game sweep for the Giants. In the NBA, Memphis, Utah, over 225. Atlanta plus 1.5 tomorrow. And then Portland plus 2 against Denver as a road win. And then tonight, Brooklyn and Boston over 234. So 2 games tonight to look at. Brooklyn, Boston over 234. Memphis, Utah over 225.5. Tomorrow, Atlanta plus 1.5 to close out that series. And Portland plus 2 to take game 5 back to Portland and hopefully win the series there. That's going to do it for me. I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. Make the Money and Run podcast 3 days a week, Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays. Good luck to everybody. Good luck with your games. Enjoy your afternoon. Have a great day. We'll see you Thursday, 4:15. Thanks, everybody.